Welcome to Ear Biscuits, the podcast where two lifelong friends talk about life for a long time. I'm Link.
And I'm Rhett. This week at the round table of dim lighting, we are going through our top 10 moments of the year. This is something that we've done, I don't know, every year for a few years.
And this is 2024.
2024, in case you are listening in the future or the past.
I want to say that for posterity. One of my favorite episodes of the year. Boy, things are winding down. This signifies that things are really winding down. We're looking back. All the things that I follow on the internet are talking about their top albums of the year. Maybe I need to do that.
You need to talk about your top albums?
My top albums of the year.
You should definitely have like a post.
I think I'm gonna do that. But yeah.
But you have to figure out how to log into Twitter.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it on. I'll do it on my notepad.
Okay.
But yeah, things are winding down. It's been a year. It's been first of all, there's a bag here, right here in front of us.
It's not for me.
So before we get into each of our 10, starting with number 10 and then working backwards, alternating and comparing. Let's open this gift from Jamie.
It's a joint gift.
It's a joint?
It's a joint gift.
Come on, Jamie.
That's gonna be a big joint.
I mean, this bag is as tall as a wine bottle, but it's not as heavy as a wine bottle.
Oh my goodness.
Ta-da!
Are you serious?
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Jamie has
this to her?
Jamie has given us
Hold on, you didn't take this home?
Green toilet paper.
When did he give this to you?
Well, it wasn't necessarily given to me as more as it found its way to my desk somehow.
Oh, because he just left it in here?
So, you
Didn't
guys
I
gave
give
it
this
to
to
each
you?
other, and I figured what better way than
I gave it to
back.
you. It was from a fancy $5 bathroom in Portugal.
Oh yeah. I was wondering where this was.
You could have been wiping your ass all this time.
I think I left it for Jamie to find. Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome. Full circle.
You know they say, if it loves you, it'll come back. So
There you go. This is yours
you start.
This is yours,
Now
man.
this is just like you wipe,
I already wiped with it.
then I wipe.
I mean, not this specific one. I
Then
wiped
you
with
wipe-
several colors.
This is the same way we're doing our top 10 moments of the year, which now, spoiler alert, I gotta change my list because now I gotta figure out where receiving this gift for a second time.
Yeah.
Green toilet paper shows up on my list.
It's not in my top 10.
What's gonna move off the list? Crap. No pun intended. Yeah, so we'll alternate wiping as we alternate going through the list. As you're winding down your year, I just want to go ahead and say, if you're showing up at people's houses, family members or whatnot, maybe you're having like prolonged visits, go to their television. If it's a smart television, turn it on to Mythical 24/7. Mm-hmm. Yeah, turn your loved ones and your acquaintances on to the never-ending stream of televisual content. We have a TV channel. If you have a smart TV that is that it comes with, which is Roku, Amazon Prime.
It's everywhere. It's on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
Just go to freaking Amazon Prime, search Mythical 24/7.
If you've got a Samsung TV, it's on Samsung TV Plus now, and a lot of other ones. It's probably on your television.
If you want to know who's got it, go to mythical24-7.com to help find the channel on your favorite smart television.
And then it doesn't have to
platform.
be like you pulled up a YouTube video. You know what I'm saying? Like, watch this, no. You just, hey, there's just a stream of mythicality that's constantly going. You just tune into it, turn the volume down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then just let your family react.
Let it happen. It happens to you. Mythical 24/7.
How hard was it this year to come up with your 10 moments?
I don't want to brag, but I live a I was going to say a rich life, but I'm not making this about money. Rich as in you full.
Full.
I'm very grateful for the opportunities that we've had this year, and whether it's seeing places or doing things, but it's the people that really matter, Rhett. I've made
So this is your top 10 people?
no, it's
People moments?
It's moments, but it's a combination of experiences, destinations, and people.
I made a note as I was going through to myself.
It wasn't that hard.
We do the same thing every year. You know, the first thing you do is you go into your photos and you look at the photos that you took, and that's how you remember what happened to you. And I was like, okay, so I went through and I got basically 10 moments without even really thinking about how many I was doing.
Oh.
And then I was like, let me think a little bit deeper about things I didn't take pictures of. And I got a couple more and they sort of knocked some stuff out. But it made me realize this year, 2025, coming year,
Okay.
if something is happening to me that I want to remember, I have to take a picture.
Right.
I mean, it's just, I gotta take a picture.
I know, I'm sure I forgot things that were
You know?
some of the best things that have ever happened to me.
But I have updated my like journaling process, but that's, you're gonna go through your journal? No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So are you starting or am I starting? Jenna, decide.
No. Okay. Link starts.
All right. I'm starting with an epic hangover that I had this year.
Okay.
Am I talking about Good Mythical Evening? No. Absolutely not. I'm talking about, this one was very recent. And, you know, if it happened earlier in the year, it might not have made the top 10, but because it happened like very recently. Over Thanksgiving break, my family was home and we had the older kids and the younger kid, Lando. We're all together and we decided to have a movie night. Now in the past, we would have we just dig back into Survivor because we got behind on Survivor. And that was our thing, of course, over the pandemic. But I decided, you know what? We have this one night, let's just have a nice movie night. The Neals never have a movie night. Okay. So boy, was this a setup for a great moment. And Lily said, we should watch something funny. I was like, good idea. She said, let's watch The Hangover.
Okay.
I was like, well, I've never seen The Hangover. Mm-hmm. And Christy hadn't seen it, Lando hadn't seen it, and Lincoln was like, oh, I've seen it. We should watch it. I was like, is this gonna be like too much for the Neals? Lincoln, you tell me, because I know Lily would love for us to watch something that would be too much for the Neals. That's what she would get a kick out of.
Well, which Neals would it be too much for is really the question.
Lando, Christy, that's it. You know, but well, maybe me if things got awkward. Like it's The Hangover. I hadn't seen it, but I'm like, what? Is there something that's gonna be really embarrassing for us as kids and parents together?
Probably not in a comedy.
But then Lincoln was like, no, it's fine. It's like, I've seen all of them and I can't remember what happens in which one, but like, we should watch it. So we proceed to watch it. And let me can I tell you about The Hangover for a second? That's a funny movie. Hangover is funny. I highly recommend if you haven't seen The Hangover.
Welcome to classic comedies.
We were just laughing at the things that happened to those guys.
Yeah, that's how it works usually.
And I feel like I have a special connection to Galifianakis because he's a North Carolina boy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, I was telling my kids, you know, he's a North Carolina boy.
NC State boy, actually.
That's right. And he's funny in that movie. I don't know if you know it, but Zach Galifianakis is a funny guy in The Hangover. And what happens is they go to Vegas, Rhett.
You should watch more movies because you got to learn how to talk about them.
They go to Vegas, but the whole movie.
Yeah, we all know.
The start of the movie is I effed up. He's like calling. They can't get back to the wedding, and then the whole movie is trying to piece together what happened the night before while they're hungover. Get it?
yeah, it's great.
It's so funny. There's a tiger in it. Mm-hmm. And Mike, well, I'm not going to tell you too much. I don't want to spoil it.
We all know that Mike Tyson sleeps with a tiger in the movie. And
he doesn't sleep with a
or
tiger.
Ed Helms sleeps with it. So I'm just saying that.
There's a tiger. You're getting it confused with.
He actually did sleep with a tiger. I'm just saying that.
The tiger was just in the
You're
bathroom.
not spoiling anything. We've all seen it.
Well, watch it again because it's great. It was so good. And that the next night, we had one more night before everybody dispersed. And I was like, we're gonna watch Hangover 2.
Oh, there's another one. Yeah.
And then we watched Hangover 2 the next night. And let me tell you, it's not rated as well on Rotten Tomatoes, but let me tell you, it's just as good because it's the same movie. Hangover 2 is the same as Hangover 1, except it's in a different location and a different person's getting married. But everything else it's a completely parallel movie. They're in Bangkok. And you know the Neils.
This is a man who has been watching Survivor for entertainment with his family. And you see what happens when you decide to watch a movie instead of
It's so
Survivor?
Cool. Movies are cool again.
I've never heard you talk about Survivor in this way. And like most of us.
It's not hilarious.
Most of us have been in this world already. Like, you're a professional comedian. Like you attempt
I don't like
with
to
me
be informed by other comedy.
to try to make people laugh for a living. And people have been doing it for hundreds of years very well. Much better than us.
You know what the crazy thing is? I say I don't like to be informed by other comedy. But when I was watching The Hangover, Zach Galifianakis is wearing a yellow t-shirt with a lab on it. And I had that shirt.
Yeah.
And in The Hangover 2, when it's in Thailand. The Neils, we went to Thailand. We went to Bangkok, and that's where they were. And they were lost
Now
to
Survivor
Bangkok.
goes to Thailand sometimes.
That's true.
So
But Zach Galifianakis, he called it Thailand, which is, of course, something my dad does. So it's like, we're really tapped into this. The movie is exactly the same as the first one, except instead of a tiger, it's a monkey. And it's in Thailand. And I can't wait to watch the third one. But we're gonna have to do that over Christmas break when everybody gets back together. So as you can tell, this was quite a moment for me.
this might transform things for you.
I think it opened up our family to adult entertainment.
Huh.
Not that Survivor's not adult entertainment, but I mean, you know, there was at the end. At the end, they find a camera and they taking pictures, and then in the closing credits, they're showing pictures from everything that happened that they couldn't remember.
You know that family of boys that their dad didn't let them watch movies their entire lives. They're like called the Wolf Kids or something. The Wolf Pack. You know what I'm talking about?
The Wolf Pack. Yeah, it's the guys.
It was
in The Hangover.
It was a group of kids who.
That's what they call themselves.
They were like kept in a house and they were not allowed to watch anything.
And there's a documentary about it.
They got out at like 18 and they started watching films and they started making films. This is the closest I've ever been to someone who's discovering entertainment for the first time.
Watch The Hangover and turn around and immediately, as quick as you can, watch The Hangover 2. It's so good to watch them together. Like, if I could watch them on 2 televisions at the same time, I would do that. 3 televisions, press play at the same time.
And play Led Zeppelin at the
Triple
same time?
Hangover. That's what I'm going for.
A multi-view of The Hangover?
So that is my top 10 moment of the year. It opened up a world of
Well, there's a lot more where
comedy
that came
for the
from.
Neils.
Yep.
Top that, bro, Seth.
Well, I've seen The Hangover 1 and 2. I don't know if I've seen the third one. Maybe we can watch that together.
Well, no, I'll be watching it with my family.
My 10th moment of the year really bookends my. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's not a good moment, but it represents an investment.
Okay.
And that was when we showed up. I told the story where we showed up at the cabin in North Carolina, and it was infested with yellow jackets, and I spent multiple hours assassinating multiple yellow jackets with all kinds of means. And it was probably the most traumatic thing that happened to me this year.
I think it did take a mental and emotional toll on me.
I've never killed so many things in one year, at least, like knowingly.
Okay. How many spiders did you eat
and without
this year?
remorse. There was no remorse. There was some joy in it.
This is your top 10 moment?
Well, top 10 moments don't have to be the best moments.
Yeah.
I think they can be the most memorable moments, but they also help you appreciate future moments.
Why is this? Because it did that. You can't experience a high if you don't experience the low.
If I was telling a story, which I am doing right now, about the most significant things that happened to me in 2024, I would say the time I showed up at a cabin and it was infested with yellow jackets, and I spent multiple days murdering them.
I should use this to wipe my nose.
And so that's what I'm doing.
I do like the practice of putting something bad that happened to you in your top
This is the
moments.
only bad thing.
Is that the only bad thing that happened to you this year? That's a good life.
I mean, you know, I don't talk about every bad thing
Excuse
that
me.
happened to me.
Is my nose
on this
green now?
podcast. Nope, that's not how it works. It won't make your asshole green either. I don't say every bad thing that happened to me on this podcast. I mean, I got to keep some things to myself.
Okay.
I just say the bad things that are also funny.
Right.
So that's it. That's it.
Time heals all wounds.
Killing a bunch of yellow jackets in a bedroom that I would later sleep in.
My number 9 moment of 2024 is in the river. You know, I feel like we both have a deep connection to rivers. Growing up right next to the Cape Fear River, swimming in it, crossing it many times, creating a sense of isolation by being on the other side, camping in high school, almost dying many times, just being nature boys. So rivers are important to us. And I think the top 9 moment is the specific river experience of our Montana college boys trip.
This is my number 7.
Dang, okay. And are you specific
I
about
said
the river float?
Montana floating down the river.
The river float was like one of the best things ever. It was so fun.
I that was a great trip, and I thought that moment really encapsulated the trip.
It did. It did. I mean, we're just out there having a grand old time, except for Tim. Tim wasn't having the best time at the moment.
He was a little sick.
Yeah.
I will say,
He was a little tested.
a bone to pick with you about this. So there were pictures that were taken while we were on the river, and there was one moment in which me and Greg were on the paddleboard together, and
we're showing the picture right now.
Greg,
Aren't we?
Greg was, I don't know, I can't remember the details of the picture, so I don't know if we're showing the picture or not. But I do know that
You were both on a paddleboard and you were kind of like wrestling with each other or something.
we were making
Struggling?
we were making y'all laugh, and then I don't know what happened. Oh, we were with our friend Mike from North Carolina, going around eating, which I'm just now remembering. That might need to be in my top 10 moments.
All right, we got an honorable mention.
But so we went around LA eating a bunch of food. And then when we got to our favorite taco stand outside of La Descarga in Hollywood, there were some girls there that came up, and I think they were fans, or I can't remember. Yeah, I think they were. I can't remember the specific details.
I
But
think they were fans. I think they were just waiting.
But one
for
of them was
tacos.
wearing like a red racing jacket or whatever, and I was like, I just bought a red racing jacket. I bought a Dale Earnhardt Jr. jacket in New York
like a
City.
NASCAR jacket.
Yeah, and then Link was like, I got a picture of it. He goes on his phone. He does the thing that you're never supposed to do when you're to go and try to find a picture of something in front of people who are sitting there waiting. And when you couldn't find the picture,
Well, I searched your name.
you found the picture of me and Greg, and you showed that to these strange people.
I was like, look at him. Look at what he was doing.
Yeah, and no one found it amusing other than you.
I think I found it amusing, yes.
Yeah. They didn't,
But you didn't.
and I did not.
And that's why I found it amusing.
Yeah, right.
'Cause I was
yeah.
showing.
You should be introspective about that compulsion.
That was a low moment for you.
To be entertained by other people's grief.
I mean, it wasn't that embarrassing of a picture. It was just strange. It seemed like you were having an intimate moment with a college buddy on a paddleboard.
Yeah,
and that
so show that to
showed some
strangers.
strangers on the streets of LA. Yeah.
Okay. How would you respond to that? I'm gonna find some compromising pictures of you and post them.
I think I'd laugh, man. I mean, you weren't naked.
I was nearly naked. I mean, I was on a river though.
Okay, so that's my number 9. Shout out to our college boys. We need to have a name for our group. We don't have to come up with it right now.
Okay. So does that mean now I go to my number 8? It switches back because we're gonna skip over my 7? Yeah.
Yes.
My number 9 is the moment of discovering that I must have been an archer in a past life.
Oh my God, seriously?
And then my subsequent trip with Shepard to go buy a bow, which now, by the way, has turned into, I also bought a bow in North Carolina. And then I got somebody who gave me a compound bow in North Carolina. Mike gave me a compound bow. Like
Mike's
I have
showing up on this episode.
I went from not being an archer to having 4 bows in a matter of months.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm all in, man.
If you don't know, there was a Mythical Society exclusive special where Stevie and Rhett went into, I don't know, a desert apocalypse environment and were taught how to survive the apocalypse by shooting bow and arrow. Well, you just shoot the arrow. Amongst other things, I don't know. I wasn't there. I had COVID. That was one of my low points. And so if you want to watch one of Rhett's highest points, it's when he's realizing how much better he is at shooting a arrow than Stevie.
Well, no,
like, that made you feel so good.
No, Stevie hadn't even tried yet, man, that I can recall. Anyway.
So you and Shep been going out on your side yard and shooting the.
Yep.
Do you call it shooting an arrow or pulling a bow? What do you call it?
I mean, I don't know. I call it. I'm gonna go shoot some arrows, I guess is what I've been saying.
You say that?
I'm gonna go shoot the bow and arrow. I'm gonna go shoot I guess I'm shooting the arrows. I'm gonna go arch.
But you shoot a gun and that doesn't mean that the gun's flying.
I'm gonna go arch. I'm going outside to arch. I don't know the terminology yet. There's so many YouTube videos about it though.
So, okay, this is your latest hobby. So I'm gonna put a pin in the fact that like a new hobby
I haven't had a new hobby in
connected you
a few years.
Connected to your top 10.
Yeah, just discovering something that I enjoy doing, that there's like a trajectory, both literally and figuratively.
Are you realizing any of the therapeutic benefits yet that you talked about? Because your therapist told you to do something like this that involved like tranquil breathing and I don't know. Are you supposed to be like reflecting while you're doing this?
No, it's not really about reflecting. It's about doing something physical. You know, getting out of your own head.
Okay.
Doing something physical.
Okay.
That's the benefit of it.
How physical is it though? I mean,
well, you're not really thinking about anything other than arrow hit target. You know, you're going back to a very like primitive place in your brain.
Okay. So it's mental, not physical. You're doing something mental.
No, you're. I mean, it's not like you're lifting.
I know what
weights.
physically you're doing, but like,
I'm just saying that like a martial art, for instance, because I told you he was telling me you should be like maybe you could do a martial art or something that gets you into your body.
Okay, but that's different than being. You're still describing it as being in your brain, but you're in your body.
No. Yeah, but when you're,
I just don't.
Hold on, but like, are you telling me that when you're doing karate or karateing, that you're not thinking about karate?
Well, your mind is in what your body's doing.
Right, and the same thing in archery.
I guess that's what embodiment is.
Because you're
sending your mind to your body.
Your eyes are looking at something, and then your body is responding to it to make something happen in the physical world. It's just it's an embodiment thing.
But do you think about that at all when you're doing it?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is there's not much to think about.
But do you remember that this is self-care?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going out there. I mean, honestly, it's not any different than any sport. Like, if I was to go outside and like shoot free throws, you could get the same thing from that. But I already know how to do that.
Are you getting better?
Oh yeah, I could kill you.
How would you kill me?
If you were within 15 yards of me, I could pick a. If you were within 10 yards of me, I'm not that good yet. I could pick a spot.
That's pretty damn close for an arrow. Isn't it?
This size spot and shoot you with it wherever you wanted.
I think I want
Heart
I think
through the eye?
Through the eye, because that's going to be better.
I could shoot an apple off the top of your head.
Oh,
Within a year, I'll be able to do that. Society special.
all right. I don't know if I'm. All right, I'm just going to move on from that.
We recently looked at, based on data, the things that made people attractive on dating apps, that made men attractive to women specifically on dating apps.
Yeah, like interests.
And foreign languages, being able to speak a
That's
foreign
right.
language or pursuing to be able to speak a foreign language ended up being one of the top most attractive things.
There you go. That's how we're going to promote Rosetta Stone, the most trusted language learning program, available on desktop or as an app that truly immerses you in the language you want to learn.
They use trusted experts for 30 years with millions of users and 25 languages offered, including but not limited to Spanish, French, Italian, Korean, Chinese, Dutch, and Arabic.
Rosetta Stone immerses you in many ways. There are no English translations, so you really learn to speak, listen, and think in that language.
It's also designed for long-term retention. They even have a built-in true accent feature that gives you feedback on your pronunciation, kind of like a personal trainer for your accent.
It's an amazing value. A lifetime membership has all 25 languages for any language needs you might have.
Don't put off learning that language. There's no better time than right now to get started. For a short time, you can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership holiday special. This offer is not gonna last long. Visit rosettastone.com/ear.
That's unlimited access to 25 language courses for the rest of your life. Redeem your holiday offer at rosettastone.com/ear today for yourself or as a gift that keeps giving. My number 8 is the Good Mythical Tour. Does this feel low to you?
You know what? I added that to my list this morning and I forgot to write it down.
Well, okay.
Because I had a
Jenna's upset.
No, because I had a specific moment from the Good Mythical Tour.
My moment from the Good Mythical Tour specifically is my birthday pie. I'm sorry, Rhett. I'm sorry. Here I am.
It's an interesting theme here.
No, this year is you being the butt of my jokes.
And okay.
Welcome to my world, man. I'm usually the butt of my own jokes.
yeah, and that's the way we like it.
No, I mean, it's just, it was just serendipitous comedy. I didn't know that you were going to get covered from head to toe with the pie that I hit with the knife that was given to me seconds before. But the whole tour was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the camaraderie of having the extended crew there with us, it was special and tip top in my mind of all the tours we've done.
Oh yeah, easy.
And I'll give a shout out to the Ryman, always going back to the Ryman, but I think the birthday night was my moment. What would have been your moment from the tour?
I mean, in terms of the show itself, I don't know. There were lots of memorable moments. You know, the individual things that happened.
I thought you were referring
to. I was actually thinking about when we got everybody together in North Carolina before the show.
Yeah, that's another big one.
And
so
then
the homecoming
your,
show, family, all getting
Nana
together.
gave a speech,
Right,
and insulted your cousins in front of you.
right. Insulted their income level compared to mine. Good old Nana.
But that was
Nana's doing good, by the way. She looked great at Thanksgiving.
Did she enjoy your ham?
I didn't bring anything.
Oh, good.
I just I brought my family.
Yeah, I mean, the tour in and of itself of you know, it's the only time, like the meet and greets, I think, are the most sort of substantial part of that in some ways. I mean, obviously being on stage and being in the room with all the mythical beasts, but
I'm glad to hear you say that.
I mean, I'm always kind of tired by that point.
It's not easy.
And it's just like 125, whatever the number of people is. And we really try to give everybody a moment. But I think the cumulative impact of talking to everybody and hearing whatever it was that kind of connected with them from the past. It's a good sort of reminder of why we do what we do.
Yeah, I think it's a
But
crucial
you don't
component.
really get through the internet.
Right. I think it is a crucial component, and it kind of recenters what Good Mythical Morning means to us because we understand what it means to individuals and couples and families. That's cool. All right, it's your turn.
So this would be my number 8, and this is when NC State beat UNC in the ACC championship against all odds, and I was backstage
Oh, yeah, I forgot about this.
at the Rolling Loud Festival with Post Malone and watching the game. And I had, normally I would have not even gone to the festival because I would have stayed home to watch the game. But I was like, wow, we'd already planned to go. And I was like, there's no way State's making it to the finals. Because, the whole story of what State did last year in basketball, making it to the Final Four, it was just like a miracle season, right?
Right.
But being backstage and having them beat UNC, which, by the way, I don't know if you saw, we also beat them in football on Saturday, for the 5th time in a row. We own them. Go to hell, Carolina. But being backstage and then
It was surreal.
grabbing a Bud Light. I don't ever drink Bud Light. But I'm backstage
But
with
we
Post
know
Malone.
somebody who does.
And so grabbing a Bud Light and sending the picture of me with my Bud Light to my text thread with Tim and Harm, who are the only people who in our friend group who care about NC State athletics, as they sent their pictures of them with their scotch or whatever. Witnessing that whole thing, but that moment, that was a very significant moment for me.
Yeah, that was a wild confluence of events. Something that didn't make my list, but that reminds me of it is the Global Citizen Festival. So that's the other Posty moment.
That made my list.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll wait. Let's see. Where am I? I'm at my number 7. And there's a couple of moments here that trickle throughout the year, but this was the year of my DJ vinyl setup. At the very beginning of the year, I was inspired to get a second turntable and a mixer and start to learn the old school way, derive all how to DJ, just using the bare minimum, right? And throughout the year, I've this is my hobby moment, because even though I've been working on, my hobby has been DJing over the past couple of years, ever since Mythicon and my first gig there. But something about creating that vinyl setup at the Creative House, it became my number one hobby for this year, and started spending more money on it. And then whenever I would have extra time, it justified and motivated me buying more records, because my goal was to create vinyl sets that then I can play for people. So it's been a very rewarding hobby because now I have like a mission to go shopping, and that's something like Lando started getting into music this year. This is like a big year for him to like get really passionate about music, and he got into playing records at home. So we would start shopping for records together a couple of times this year, and I took a online DJ course, and so from a brain standpoint, I just found myself learning something. You know, like you said, you already know how to throw free throws, but like learning, being opened up to the world of bow and arrowing, or you got to figure out what it's called.
Archery.
But okay. Archering. Same thing for me. It was just kind of like I was open up to this world, and there's people who are like there's a tremendous history, and there's a connection to
Not as long as archery.
Probably, no, there's not. But there's a shorter than archery history, and there's so much technique involved, and so there's like training that really goes into it, and muscle memory and technique, but also artistry, and ultimately it's to facilitate connections among people, right? So even when I'm alone, I picture myself facilitating a good time for people. And I mean, my big Christmas present to myself this year was like some JBL 100s, which you saw at the Creative House.
They're very big.
Yeah. Ironically, they're called bookshelf speakers, but they are big, but they're nice.
Maybe there's a way for us to combine these, some sort of Cirque du Soleil type show.
Say more.
Maybe as you change a record, you throw it in the air and I shoot an arrow right through it.
Well, there's already a hole in the middle.
Right.
So the goal is to not make another hole.
Just right through it.
And then it's just like, and I'm not behind this. I know where to hold the record.
Oh, no. What if I
take the record up, I hold
What
it.
if I put records on arrows and I shoot the records to you?
So like
And you catch them and play them.
like a suction cup arrow.
That's how people make requests. I go around, I have a bow, an arrow, a quiver, and then I have a satchel of records. And I say, go through, pick your record, and they put it on there and I shoot it to you. And
I
we can do
catch it.
any size venue.
This is a wild show, dude.
Yep.
This is a wild thing.
Nobody gets hurt.
Nobody gets hurt. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to go back over to Creative House, and I always have something else that I'm gonna try. And because it's not at my house, there's always this tension that builds up that if I have a new idea or if I listen to music and I'm like, okay, I wanna try this, then there's like this excitement that builds until I can have a window of time to go over to the Creative House to do it, because that's way too much equipment and there's no place to have it at my house, and this is the space for it. So because it's not always accessible, it adds to the speciality of it. So that's my number 7.
My number 7 was the floating down the river. My number 6
Okay.
is my first visit to Dr. Solani. I'm going today, as a matter of fact, going back for my 5th visit.
So at the time, that's kind of a low point.
No, it was, the visit itself was a high point because it was
Hope.
going to someone who listens, understands, has a plan, and begins implementing it immediately. And it's been a pretty, again, it's not the kind of thing that anybody other than me can appreciate, because every time you see me on camera, you for the past 5 years, you've been seeing me with like these eye drops in to mask the symptoms.
Yeah.
But my eyes were like hurting, and then they would be like super red at the end of the day. I hadn't put those drops in my eyes in months now, like 2 months maybe.
I will say your eyes look a little bit red today, though.
Well, it still happens. I'm not saying I'm not.
Sorry to undermine your entire sentence.
No, I'm not cured.
Yeah.
And my eyes will never be as white as they will be if I put these drops in. But they also feel very different. Like, you don't understand, like, I'm used to being in moderate amounts of pain in many places in my body, and it doesn't really bother me. But like the feeling of like there's sand in your eyes at all times, like that kind of sucks. And I just kind of gotten used to it. So, yeah, that was a
You got
that was a big
answers.
moment.
You turned a corner, an eyeball corner.
Yeah.
I'm glad,
And there's
I'm glad for you.
there's still a journey. There's still a journey ahead of me.
As Flavor Flav
but
would
I'm on
say,
the road.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
My number 6 was not going to be on the list at all because there's not much I can say about it. But when I told Christy that I was making my list last night, she started going through things like guessing what would be on my list, and she included what is now my number 6. Once she gave me a hard time that this didn't make the list. I was like, well, I got a personal list and I got a public list.
Okay.
So you're on my this is on my personal list, but now it's on my public list, but with vague details. Me and Christy, we went on a getaway, like a almost impromptu. Like we have a hotel that we like to go to, the Proper in Santa Monica. Many years ago, you might remember I told the story about the rich bitches.
Yeah.
That was up there, and then we had a birthday party
And
there.
the four-handed massage that was there as well.
That's right. I didn't get that this year.
Well, good.
Well, I didn't pay for that. You know what I'm saying?
4 hands?
Well, I have 2 hands and Christy has 2
okay.
hands.
Just looking for clarification.
We actually only stayed one night. So 2 days, one night because we went there a little early. We had a special time. And I thank you for your role in it.
Okay.
So we'll keep it vague. But yeah, maybe that's a story for one
Boy,
day.
people are gonna, what the hell does he mean by that?
Christy and I remember your top
I was
10.
not the other 2 hands. by
I
the way.
remember you were not physically
I was not present.
You were not physically
I
present.
did not call in. I was not
No.
video chat.
No.
It was just a little advice.
But I did it was more than advice. Come on now. But I did text you at one point along with Mike. Here, Mike keeps coming up.
Because that was the weekend that
Because
you was
me
in
and
town.
Mike hung out the night before, and then me and Christy left on our getaway the next day. And so something about, I discussed some intentions with the two of you that then came to fruition, that I required a text message to be sent to you, that I was thinking of the two of you many times.
While we were at the Clippers game.
I thought of you guys many times over the
I hate
Just
that.
2 days
I
and one
hate that. For you.
But I remember your top 10 list from last year, and you had so many sweet things to say about you and your wonderful wife Jessie, and like the connection that you have. And I just want to say that me too, with my wife this year. Chrissy and I think we're in a good place in our relationship, and you stop looking at your list. Listen to me.
I'm listening to you.
You keep glancing down at your list.
I'm listening to you.
Okay. What was I saying?
Me and Christy, we're in a good place. Stop looking at your list. I think was the exact words.
I think I don't know like what has led to like the good place of connection. I think it's one of the key things is working, like experiencing conflict and then connection on the tail end of conflict. I wouldn't even separate the two. Like conflict, like I wouldn't say connection after conflict or during. I would say it's like the the conflict that we worked through led to a deeper connection, and it was all one process. And the timing was such that the getaway was like 2 weeks after that. And so it kind of solidified a new, like we had planted a garden and then it started to grow. The secret garden behind the gate that no one shall enter except
Bruce Springsteen.
the two of us. Is that I don't know. Is that all right. Could also be a wicked garden if you want to go Stone Temple Pilots. Do you remember that song?
Is that from Wicked?
No, just go ahead. I'll be looking at my list while you're talking.
My number, the reason I'm looking down is because I didn't number them. So I have to.
You really should have numbered them.
Yeah. My number 5 is the Make Us Cry episode of GMN.
I thought about putting this on there.
Because I was, I was actually thinking about, I usually have like, oh, well, this was a moment of connection with Shepard. This was a moment of connection with Locke.
Yep.
This is a moment of connection with Jesse. But I really thought that, and I did have all of those this year, but I thought that episode, which I think will have just aired when we put this out, where the crew put together a series of things to try to make us weep on camera, which wasn't really fair. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We
didn't even know it was going to happen until we sat down.
I was like, what does this make us cry?
Right.
As I was sitting down.
Yeah, I know.
So I was not prepared for it and did not know that our families had participated. And also that many of you had participated too.
Yeah.
But, it was the letter from Jesse and the letter from Locke, which were the two that I read on the show. There was also a letter from Shepard, which he also read. I just didn't read it because we kind of ran out of time. But yeah, that was, I don't know. It was very meaningful.
I mean, to get like a mushy, heartfelt letter from
your kids,
from your
especially.
closest. Yeah.
Jesse and I talk very openly about our feelings to one another on a regular basis and write cards to each other and that kind of thing. So that's a normal part of our relationship, but it's not a normal part of my relationship with my boys. I mean,
Right, they're not coming up every week. Dad, I wrote you another letter.
I'll write them something for their birthday or whatever, and they'll like give me something from our birthday or whatever. That's, I'm not saying it's not heartfelt, but they're not as expressive, and to hear the things that they had to say in those letters was just, it really impacted me. In fact,
do you need?
no, I'm gonna be fine.
You need something.
I've cried enough about it already. The first thing that I said to Locke when I saw him over things, I mean, I had texted in the family group chat or whatever about it, but I was like, I really appreciated your letter and what you had to say. Mm-hmm. How honest you were.
Yeah, it was super special, and is definitely, I mean, a top special Good Mythical Morning episode of all time. When I got home that night, Christy had been told that it was happening that day. So right when I walked in the door, I didn't know that she knew it was happening that day. When I walked in the door, she was like, well, did it work? Did we get you? And I was like, yes. I was not cooperative at first with the other parts of it, but by the time it got to y'all, and then, Lando and Lincoln's letter, they didn't have time for that to be in the episode, but they also wrote moving letters. Matter of fact, Lincoln wrote a poem, like this epic poem. And I was talking to him. I told him how much I appreciated it. And then when he got home over Thanksgiving, we were hanging out, and I brought it back up, and I was like, because we were in person for the first time, I was like, actually, yeah, I told him one more time, and then we moved on. We were talking about something else, and he was talking about his classes, and I was like, how are you, like, what class are you enjoying the most? And he was like, my poetry class.
I'm about to say, is it a poetry
And I'm
class?
like, hold on. So did you make my letter, did you turn my letter in as a poetry assignment? He was like, no. I took a poetry assignment and then I edited it to be about you afterward.
A man after his own
I was like, son,
father.
I gotta give it to you, boy. Hey, if you a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. No, what is it? Two stones, two birds and one stone. Two birds and one stone in the bush, buddy, or something.
Yep, that's it.
Everybody, like Christy was so elated that I cried. I don't cry easily, like you do. But anyway, yeah, I agree. Wasn't on my list though.
Yeah. No, it was one of those that I remembered because there were not pictures of it. You know, there weren't pictures
It
of
was
it.
just a video.
So I just remembered it this morning.
Is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
All right, my number 5 is Lily's birthday party, which doubled as the prom that she never had. And we hosted this at our house. And yes, I did get to DJ, and that was fun. But just being able to celebrate her and have all of her friends from all of her friend groups show up. And we did the slideshow thing. You were there.
I was there. I was dressed like Justin Timberlake.
Yeah. We had like a photo booth and it was 90s themed prom. And that was just, it was special for her. It was special for us. I think that was a big moment, a big family party. One of the
Early
most
2000s.
Oh,
Early
early
2000s.
2000s. Why did I say 90s?
I don't know.
Yeah, because
Because the 2000s are kind of lost to me. Like in my mind, the 2000s don't exist because that was when Chris and I first got married. And I was trying to figure out so much of my life that I'm not a fan of music at the time. Like I just kind of, I was in like
really,
make a new life survival mode kind of a thing. Otherwise I would have been a huge NSYNC fan.
yes, so much great music was made. My number 4 is our trip to Global Citizen, but specifically the moment. It was really the culmination. I mean, there was a lot of epic moments that happened that whole weekend. I remember when I got home, I told Jesse, I was like, that was one of the better weekends that I've had
Yeah, that was a good
in
weekend.
a long time. And maybe the best weekend I've ever had in New York in terms of just the number of interesting people that we met and hung out with. But that day after, I mean, of course, the Global Citizen Festival was great. And
Yeah, because I didn't know if you
were.
were going to talk about that you were going to talk about the teleprompter moment.
Oh
which is
well, we should
quite
talk.
memorable.
We should talk about that because I don't think we ever did.
Have we ever talked about that on the podcast?
No, I don't think
Okay,
we
so
Well, Global Citizen Festival is a super important nonprofit event that happens in conjunction with the UN Assembly in New York City every year, and you can download the Global Citizen app, and they mobilize individuals to take action to impact their governments. So not just the American government, but around the world. They facilitate
to address global issues like hunger
Yeah.
and so they've been doing it for 12 years or so.
So it's less about donating money and more about donating action to encourage political action to eradicate global hunger.
And all kinds of global issues like climate change, climate action. There's, equality.
Yes, you're
So-
right. So to show up at the event, you don't have to buy a ticket to get to Central Park. All you have to do is to take some action on the app, and then you can just show up there. And that's why every year there's 60,000 people there.
And when our friend Jacob, who has been involved with the festival since its inception, knew that Post Malone was headlining.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, well, I should get Rhett Link to come and introduce him. They could be one of the speakers or whatever. So we were like, yes, we should do that. So, I was a little bit nervous because I've never gotten up in front of 60,000 people before.
Biggest crowd we will ever talk to.
Biggest
maybe.
crowd by far. I think The biggest crowd before that was probably Dorton Arena at the State Fair.
You think?
In 2018. I think because it was a packed house at Dorton Arena, so that was probably like 8,000 people or something.
Oh.
So that was the biggest crowd we'd ever been in front of by a factor.
And we got there the day before and like went through the paces of what it would feel like the next day. And, you know, they had some things for us to say on prompter besides just introducing Post. Like, since he was since he was the headliner, it was our job to like give like the results of the event, you know, of the effort. Right?
How much
So,
money had been raised and some other things and some talking points that were on a prompter. So basically we had practiced, we go out, we walk onto this stage, we read off of this prompter.
a huge prompter, like I'm talking like Jumbotron-esque, like
Kind of out there in the crowd.
in the middle of the crowd.
And then it would show a video, and then we would walk down to the end of this like keystone stage, and then we would introduce Post. So, again, I was significantly less nervous than I thought I was gonna be. I don't know, I'm not as nervous about that kind of thing anymore, but
And it's pretty straightforward. You get up there, you
I was
hit
pretty
your
nervous
mark,
though.
You read the prompter,
I was pretty nervous.
you say what you're gonna say, and then you get out of the way.
But we walk out there,
Well, we were backstage.
well, we were backstage waiting.
We were on the side stage with like the guy who like points to us and says, "All right, boys, get out there." And there was somebody else out there talking before us, and I noticed the Jumbotron teleprompter was off. And I lean over to the guy and I was like, so is that prompter gonna come on as we go out? He was like, "Oh yeah, you guys are special. You get the special prompter." That's what he said.
He was joking though.
He was joking.
The reason there wasn't a prompter up there for that person, I think, is
Because they weren't standing there. They were standing over somewhere else talking. So then then they're like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Rhett and Link," and we walk out there. And at this moment, I anticipated 60,000 people. I'm gonna take this in. This is gonna be a milestone event. I bet you we'll be talking about it in our top 10 moments of the year. And I just want to, I want to experience it. I want to take it in. But instead of thinking any of that, as I'm walking out there, I'm looking at the prompter that's off. I'm looking at you. You're looking at the prompter that's off. We're looking at each other. And now we're there in front of the biggest crowd of our entire career, probably forever. And
no one knew that the prompter was off.
nobody knew except us.
Because first of all, we didn't make the amateur mistake, which is to say the prompter is off.
When they asked us to do this, they told us there would be a prompter. And I had the first thing, the first line was mine, and I knew what I was going to say, and I said, "Good mythical evening, global citizens," and then you had to say something of substance.
A talking point of some kind.
And I'm like panicking inside, and I'm like looking at you, and you started talking.
Well, I had memorized the talking points just in case the prompter wasn't working.
I noticed backstage I was like walking around and talking to people and just yucking it up, and I was like, "Where's Rhett?" And every time I go back, you were sitting down there like looking at your thing.
Yeah, I'm a professional.
Good for you,
Consummate.
man. Damn. So then Rhett starts talking, and he's like, "That memorized it," is what I'm thinking. And I'm like, thank God now I'm gonna look like the idiot. I thought that was gonna be on you. I was like, I'll just follow his lead. How's he gonna cope with this?
I was like, well, hopefully Link will remember the thing.
And I had the number. I had to say the number.
But there was one number.
I didn't know. I don't remember numbers.
It was like 1 billion or something. It was one number and it was an even number. It was either 1 million or 100 million. I don't know what it was and what the number referred to.
I'm in front of 60,000 people crapping my pants.
I was ready to correct you if you said the wrong number.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, but I was like, he's gonna remember. He has to hold one number in his head.
I didn't remember it because it was never in my head. I was like, I know how to read. It'll enter my head when it comes off the prompter. But and so I'm like, my eyes are darting back and forth, and I'm just like, ugh. And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see some movement, and like down at the end of the Keystone stage, there is a camera with a little screen on top of it.
It's made for people who are on the end of the stage, so they
Right.
have a little prompter there.
So, and I'm talking like within 10 feet of the person, that's how close you're supposed to be to read it. Now, how far away from it was I?
40 feet?
At least. But it was moving, and it was the prompter. And I'm like, so I look over there, and I'm like,
I couldn't read it.
and I saw the number, and I saw some of the words, and I saw just enough to say what I needed to say. I pulled it off.
Yeah, and
And then they showed the video, and then we leaned over each other. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then all we had to do after the little video was introduce post, and we don't need a prompter for that. So of course, the prompter comes on for that.
oh, and by the way, it was the altered version.
It wasn't even.
It wasn't what we had rehearsed.
Yeah.
It was a different thing. Now, I want to just be the Global Citizen Festival went off without a hitch in many different ways,
Well, I believe everybody who works there is volunteering.
and they do a great job. We're not. It's like it was a.
Yeah, I don't mean to talk shit about it.
It was a special moment. It actually made it more significant for us because I don't know. There was this like heightened energy that like we got up there and.
Do you remember hearing the crowd roar when we said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Post Malone"? Because I don't.
No.
I don't remember it.
I remember passing Jane Goodall as we were going up on stage.
Yes.
She was walking off stage. I was like, oh, holy shit, there's Jane Goodall.
That's so awesome.
I panicked. I like grabbed your arm and I was like, that's her.
Yeah.
So we followed Jane Goodall
Seeing a gorilla in the
without a
mist.
prompter. But the
And
big,
Chris Martin and Ed Sheeran.
the big moment for me was actually not us getting in front of 60,000 people and speaking without a prompter. It was the next day where our friends, Jacob and Hedgen, took us around New York City. And it was
Right.
kind of their, they were moving from from New York to LA. And it was kind of their last big weekend in New York.
They had to show us around.
And they were showing us around, and we just had we were basically together all day. That's where
Well,
I
'cause
got
we
that
took the girls.
NASCAR jacket.
We took Christy and Jesse were there with us, and they don't go on as many trips with us as they used to, so that was special, and like hanging out all day, like with our other friends. And
The peak moment for me, we ate great food. We had a great time. I got a NASCAR jacket. And then, Jacob and Hedgen always have,
something in their back pocket.
they curate experiences. This is what they do. And so I trust them. It's like if they say go to this place, like the first restaurant we ate at was great, and they took us on this little path underneath the Brooklyn Bridge to this like spot, and they just kind of know where the cool shit is, right?
Yeah.
But they had this idea that we would cap off the night with a foot massage.
Right.
And there's lots of foot massage places in New York City. And I'm not a huge fan of foot massage. My feet are super ticklish, and I laugh. And if I get a massage, I always say, just don't do the feet because I'm gonna laugh.
And they're like, well, it's a foot massage.
But I wasn't super keen on the idea, especially when we went to like 4 places and they were all like either full. It's crazy. It's like 11:30 at night in New York City, and
Yeah.
looking for a place to get a foot massage, and it's like the places are packed.
Yeah. Because
That's New York, man. Eventually, we did find a place, and we sat down, and we just laughed. I was laughing. I was laughing because the guy was hurting me so much. Like, he was hurting me real bad.
And he was laughing.
And then I would just start laughing, like, I could not hold it in. Because it was like this mix of pleasure and pain and tickling. And then all my friends were there. We were so loud.
Yeah, that
we
was a
were
good moment.
You were so loud. I specifically remember.
We were the only ones in there.
No.
And they're like, you're being too loud. I'm like, well, we're the only ones here.
No. But like, you would lean over to me. Like, we were in this. It wasn't the room was about this big.
It was late in the evening, Rhett.
And you would like lean over to me and
had
you'd be
quite a
like,
day.
"How about this day, man?" I'm right here. I'm right here.
Yeah,
Everybody and like everyone's laughing at you because you just did not realize how loud you were talking. You also talk really loudly at the restaurant. We had to tell you to bring it down at the restaurant.
Yeah, well,
we all hear you fine. We don't need everyone else to hear you as well. It was a loud talking
It's
day.
called party voice, man.
Well, it was. I mean,
Look into it.
you could turn it down a little bit.
I like to turn up, and that's what I mean by that.
But
the speaking volume.
that whole weekend was great, and that foot massage at the end, which I actually legitimately hated every moment of, was kind of my favorite moment.
So many of your moments are tinged with sadness or pain.
The guy was hurting me. Like,
and then I started making fun of you, and then my guy started hurting me.
they do something with your shin, and they start going up the shin, and it's like, boy, I mean, I'm tender. You know, I'm so tender.
You're tender-shinned.
I'm tender-shinned, man.
All right, so my number 4, Christy had made plans to go out of town for the weekend. And I was like, well, that's my thing. That's what I do. So I'm like, all right, Christy's going away for the weekend. I was like, you know what? I'm going to surprise Lando. And I came home and I told him in advance of this, weeks in advance, I was like, Lando, you know, Mom's going out of town. How about me and you go out of town just for one night? Now, she was leaving Friday night, which happened to be the night of Good Mythical Evening. She was also gone Saturday night. So is it a coincidence that my lovely wife gets out of town when Good Mythical Evening happens? No. She don't want to be in the same city as me when that happens.
When you embarrass the family.
Right. She could probably still hear me talking though.
Right.
So I told Lando in advance, I'm like, let's get on a plane and pick somewhere that we can fly, stay in the same time zone. Let's pick a place where we can fly and stay one night, and you can pick out, he's a foodie. So I said, you can pick out we'll go to a city where they have like a lot of good food, and you can pick out the restaurants we go to. And he was like, really? I was like, we need to fly out of Burbank. We're not gonna have much time. We're gonna leave Saturday morning. We need to get there quickly so we can start eating and then sleeping and then eating some more the next day before we fly back at the end of the day. And so we landed on San Francisco. It's a great and obvious choice. Great food town. He had never been. Well, no, he had been, but he was too young to remember. So we had just the best time. He loves dim sum. We stayed on the edge of Chinatown, which I think the Chinatown in San Francisco is the largest in the U.S., if my memory serves me correctly. Cool spot. Got some dim sum. Then we're like walking around. We get some amazing pizza. And then he had said, Dad, we're not gonna be able to eat constantly. I'm like, yeah. So in between that, maybe we can go to some record shops. And I'm like, boy, you're speaking my language. And so we would, over the course of 2 days, we probably, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we probably ate at 5 different places, and we went to 8 record shops. Because in San Francisco, you can like pick a neighborhood and you'll just find a whole covey of them. So it was super special. First time the two of us had ever done a trip at all. And it was like his love language of food, our love language of vinyl. And we just had the best time. And I think, I'm trying to think of a particular moment. We were walking, you've got these amazing little parks. It's also hilly there. I'm talking about San Francisco like I'm talking about The Hangover, the movie. It's like, have you ever heard how hilly it is? But there's like these little knobs of park, and there was this off-leash dog park up on this hill, and we sat there. Dogs were coming up to us and trying to eat our lunch, and we just had the wonderful view of the city, and we're just like, I was like, man, that was such a good decision, and I think we're gonna have to do it again. We're talking about doing another one where maybe we'll go. We're talking about Portland. I'm trying to plant the Portland seed. I think that would be a good spot to go.
I thought that based on, I thought that San Francisco, according to certain news outlets, was just, you couldn't go anymore. It was just completely had gone to hell. Are you telling me that's not true, Link?
It's not true. It's not true. But, I mean, when we left the airport and we drove through basically Skid Row to get to Chinatown. And so we were a little concerned for a few miles there. And I can see the look on Lando's face, like right when we went into town, that was the first part of town we saw. And he's like, what is happening?
Yeah, I've been through there as well.
Yeah, so it's not all peaches and cream, but we had a wonderful time.
But you can still visit.
You can
still visit, and there's still plenty of places to go.
highly recommend. We ate at like this Michelin star Thai fusion place that wasn't really fancy. I mean, it was a sit-down restaurant, but it's not like white tablecloths or anything. But like, we had some wild food. We ate rabbit curry.
Oh, you ate bunnies.
That was the thing that you had to eat. I'm just saying, it was what we had to eat. So we had an amazing time. That was my number 4.
My number 3 was my trip with Jesse to Portugal, which I've talked extensively about, but the peak moment for me was the cloud forest on the island of Madeira. There were so many good moments in that
Do you
trip.
think you'd ever go back?
I'm kind of torn because, we're trying to figure out what we're going to do over the summer, and I don't know. I just got to a place in my life where I'm willing to go to a restaurant that I've been to before. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, me and Jesse are not repeaters. We're like, what's new? But as I'm getting older, I'm learning to appreciate the value of something that you're going to like. I've actually started watching movies that I've seen again, which I've never done. So I kind of think that
I have a recommendation.
Yep. I don't have a but this is that was the first time Jesse and I have ever traveled together for that length of time. So I think we're gonna go somewhere else. But maybe I'll go back someday.
Portugal.
But that cloud forest was one of the most magical places that I've ever been. Jesse did not appreciate it to the level that I did. She liked a lot of other parts of it, mostly all the beautiful things that people had made and designed and all the beautiful spaces. But I like those misty trees, man. So that trip was a highlight. Like, Jesse and I will never forget that. As I was looking at my pictures, I was like, holy shit, we took a lot of pictures. Like, there was just swath of pictures from July. Hundreds. And this is just the pictures that I took. If you count the pictures that Jesse took, she probably tripled my number of pictures.
That's too many.
And I would say at least 300 of them were just doors. That woman will take a picture of a door.
Yeah, I get that.
And Portugal, highlight.
My number 3 is experiencing the tremendous honor of a lifetime of having the microphone, the original microphone from Good Mythical Morning and the original blindfolds from Good Mythical Morning being officially archived into the Smithsonian Entertainment exhibit. And we had mailed it ahead of time, and we made a Instagram reel that kind of told the story of it. And you can go back and watch that. But it was unbelievable just being in the archives. We don't know when they're gonna pull it. They rotate things on and off display, which is why in the archive they were like this, the scarecrow hat from The Wizard of Oz and the puffy shirt from Seinfeld and Christopher Reeve's Superman outfit and the original Kermit the Frog and our microphone and blindfolds right there in the middle of it. I mean, I don't know if there's an honor that will match it. So this year we got that honor, and we were in front of the largest crowd we may be in front of. So like,
We can die now.
it's a good year in terms of.
I totally missed this one on my list. It's definitely on my list now that you've reminded me of it.
Right, I'll give it to you. We can kind of take credit for each other's list.
Yeah, it was very surreal.
And we were on tour when we happened to be going through there, so we were able to go and see it in person, and now when they do rotate it on display, they'll let us know.
And we're gonna go back.
And we can go back and like see it out there.
I had a low point during this visit, though, I will say. So we go back into the archives, and they say I think 99% of everything that's held by the museum is in the archives. Only 1% is on display at any given time. And so the archives are what you imagine being, just sort
Drawers.
of lockers and drawers and very tightly packed with all kinds of stuff. And the woman says as we're going in, and I'm pretty good at following directions. Like like you tell me to not do something, and I'm like not the person who's going to violate the rule, right? I'm a rule follower. She's like, don't touch anything. She's like, don't touch anything. And she said it in a way that like, whoa, like I haven't had a person talk to me in this way in a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm just saying that like adults don't talk to other adults in that way. It's like, I'm not a child. Like, but she was like, she takes her job seriously. Don't touch anything.
We couldn't even touch our own stuff that we donated.
Once we signed it over, we were not allowed to touch it. And everything that was being touched by people with gloves.
Professional touchers.
Yeah. And we're not professional touchers, and we didn't have gloves. So we're walking through, and I literally have my hands behind my back, clasped behind my back, so I will not see anything, touch anything. I see everything. And I'm looking around like, yes. And right when we walk in, I'm like, and she's like, I saw the 10 speed or 18 speed or a bike. And she's like, that's Lance Armstrong's bike that he won the Tour de France with, We do not have that on display at the moment, given she did not say this, but I'm assuming given his reputation has changed over the years. But it's like the first thing that's in there. I'm like, looking at everything. And we go through the whole process, and then I'm walking out, and I'm just like, a bike, and I just grab the wheel. I like grab the wheel and start to spin it or something. Like, just because I was like, up here. Because I was like, I've done such a good job. I was on autopilot going out, and she was like, don't touch anything. Like, oh crap, I'm sorry.
Then you reached up and you honked the horn.
So I have touched Lance Armstrong's tire.
Whee!
There are worse things to touch in there, though. I didn't touch Kermit.
My number 2, I know is on your list, so maybe you're number 1. I don't know, am I stealing your thunder here? My number 2 is Wonderhole.
That's my number 2.
Okay, good.
I'm interested what your number 1 is. But.
This was the year of Wonderhole season 1. Like we started filming at the top of 2024, culminating in the launch in October?
August.
Back in August. So I'm having trouble. I mean, Wonderhole is so special to us because for all the creative reasons that we've been talking about, and it is where we're pouring the most concentrated creativity even now and this year. Like, we're working on season 2. It's in the writing stage right now. I can tell you what each episode is going to be. You want me to tell you?
No.
Episode 1. But we know, don't we? We know.
Well, we don't know the order yet.
We don't know the order, but we know what the
angle, the creative, the beats.
Yeah, we've got the 6 episodes. It's going to be 6 episodes again, and unless something changes. But yeah, I'm really excited about the evolution from season 1 to season 2. I'm sure we'll be talking more about that later, but the the entire experience of Wonderhole, it's tough to point to one thing. So I'm like, was it the premiere event where we screened it and had the Q&A? Like that was, and the party after, that was pretty special. Was it?
I have a nominee for the moment that I think encapsulates it.
Was it? I'll say some that maybe I don't think you're going to nominate. Was it skydiving?
Yeah, that's my moment.
Oh.
And here's why. Like,
That was it. So it wasn't.
no,
I'm going to let you. I will go through the ones that aren't
Okay.
it, just to complete my thought. So it wasn't the trip to the Florida Keys for the island shoot. It wasn't. For me, it might have been the trip to North Carolina for the chopping down the tree Ben episode, plus the crushing of my truck. I think that I'm tempted to make the truck episode filming back in North Carolina my moment if I had to narrow it down. But you're choosing the.
I'm choosing the skydiving for a very particular reason.
Okay.
I mean, not only is it kind of, you know, I find myself talking about it with people quite a bit. Just the other day, somebody was talking about skydiving. So I did that for the first time and last time this year.
Yeah, exactly. Once you do that, you never forget.
So
that
it was
you did.
literally a pretty big moment. But also, it happened very early in the production of Wonderhole Season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not the first thing that we shot, but it was the first couple of
I
weeks.
think it was February.
And it was, I think it was emblematic. It was representative of what we were doing. Getting up there and just jumping out of a plane. I think it kind of represents what we are doing with that project, which is kind of just jumping into something.
Yeah.
You know, jumping into this creative endeavor where we have reason to believe that everything's going to be okay, you know? But it is something that we haven't done before, and it represents a pretty significant sort of decision on our part to be like, we're going to make something that doesn't fit really anywhere. And so we're going to just do it in the place that we know that we can do it.
Yeah.
Our show doesn't fit on YouTube. I mean, we're just being honest, right? It doesn't fit on YouTube. We do some things to make it fit on YouTube with the way that we title it and thumbnail it to take advantage of the algorithm. But in terms of the way that we think about the show and what the show is, there's nothing that we can point to that we're like, well, we're doing something like this. We're doing something that is trusting our own instincts and leaning into the things that we think that we want to create, the things that we think that we can create well. And I just, looking back on our career, I feel like those are the moments in which things have worked out. It usually isn't never the beginning, the first thing that we do, but it's just trusting our instincts and trying something new that's informed by our experience and the things that we think we're good at. And then seeing what happens, and
when
I
we're
feel
happy
really good
with
about
it,
the process.
Sticking with it. I do like the analogy of the skydiving. There's a sense of risk, but having to go all in on it, and then leaving the results to the ground. Kind of, you know. I don't know exactly what that means for the analogy, but like, throwing ourselves completely into something and then leaving the results to God. Let's say it. I'm very proud of season 1, very excited about season 2, and I just think it's very rewarding. The experience has been very rewarding. Jenna, you want to second that?
Yeah, I do want
Is
to.
that your number 1? Jenna's been working on this with us.
I actually haven't made my list yet.
Oh, okay, so maybe it wouldn't make it.
All right.
It is on my list. Yeah,
I would
it's
hope
on
that
my
it would
list.
be on the list. All right, is it your number 1 or your number 2?
That was my number 2. So my number,
Okay.
So
where are you?
I'm
Number
in my
1.
number 1.
Do it.
It's really difficult to pick a number 1. Didn't I just say that? And this is also incredibly fresh and recent. And I'm
Okay.
also now remembering another thing because there were no pictures of it. maybe this is your number one, but I'm going to throw it
it's
in
not.
there. Celebrating 40 years of friendship. Like,
Oh.
it wasn't on my list.
We
And-
both-
and-
we both forgot it.
and it's not on your list.
Whoops. Sorry.
But again, the way that things happen in our lives, you know, we know that 40 years of friendship is coming up, but it gets slotted into a celebration that happens at least a month before the actual date. Like when we were sitting there getting married by Elvis
Right.
for a celebration of our 40th anniversary, that was like 6 weeks before the anniversary, you know, probably.
Yeah.
That's just the way that our schedule works. And so we sort of live in two different timelines at all time. And so then the day comes.
And it was a meaningful celebration at that time.
It was a meaningful celebration, but then the day comes and it's like, well, we already got married by Elvis,
Because what was the day?
September 4th.
Well, I mean, what were we doing?
I don't even know. I don't even know.
I thought we did something to celebrate. Here we are.
We're just,
Are you-
it's just a little insight.
Sorry to disappoint
It's
you.
a little insight into the way that our lives
At least
work.
we equally forgot.
Yeah.
Right?
But this is why we do the list. So that
That's right. All right, we're
And there were no pictures.
all right, so this will be
So my
number 0 on my list.
my number one that I actually put together is Thanksgiving with my family
Oh,
and
did
Jesse's family.
Did you watch a
Hangover?
certain movie?
I did watch a couple of movies because that's a practice of our family. But that's why I kind of started with the Yellow Jackets thing, right? Because this cabin in North Carolina has been, that's like almost a 3-year project at this point. You know, Jessie she's the one who's been doing all the work and spent all the time and making it into a very Jessified space, which, as you can imagine, is a very nice space that I like spending time in. But, you know, one of the main motivations for getting it was for a place for our families to gather when we were in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, parents are getting older and we're going back more often and that kind of thing. So it's like, but this was the first time that the purpose of the cabin was realized when we invited all of my family and all of Jesse's family, so like 18 people, into the space. So you've got grandparents, you've got all, you know,
All the
my
cousins.
brother's family, Jesse's sister's family, and all the cousins and nieces, nephews. So, and I deep fried 2 turkeys. They turned out great. Everybody made all this food. The food was great. The conversation was great. We avoided controversial subjects.
Okay.
I think everybody's on the same page at this point. This is like, hey, let's not talk about the stuff that we don't agree on. Let's just talk about what we do agree on. And that makes it, you know, fun to be
Enjoyable.
there. But I had an idea. So you've seen these TikTok games where these families are playing weird games with some of the games that we played on GMM, like with the red Solo cups, flipping them and the balloons and trying to move things and all the
Yeah.
family games.
Uh-huh.
And I just keep seeing all these families playing these games. And I'm like, I think that I should curate a Thanksgiving Olympics
What?
for everyone to participate in,
Oh, yeah.
except my mom because her knee is bad. So I created a series of games and got a tournament, like a bracket builder on my phone, and had like an 18-person bracket for each game. And then there would be like a winner of that game. And it was this thing where these random, head-to-head matchups would happen.
What,
So it would be,
did it all happen in one
we
place?
did it all on the kitchen island.
Oh,
So they got this big kitchen island, and everyone is sort of like around it. And
that's
then
awesome.
2 people come up at a time. So it would be like, and it's just random who it's going to be, you know, in the tournament. So it would be like my dad versus Jesse's dad, or you know, Jessie versus her mom, or my brother's wife versus one of her sons, or me versus Shepherd, or whatever. And we played these 3 games with these 18 different people. So there were so many matchups, and like both of our families are extremely competitive. So like no one is like, everyone is taking it very seriously and trying really hard, but also not to the point of anybody getting mad about it. Okay. Just like really intense, and everyone's laughing their asses off because it's just, you're seeing all these people that you know and love do this. It's just the same reason these videos get millions of views, right? And in the middle of that moment, as I kind of looked around and I was like, this totally worked. I'd looked at all these games and picked the ones that I thought everyone could like quickly pick up on and just do with like one demonstration. And then the way they would like come up to each other and like fist bump before they did it. And like, it just became this ritual. And then Chris, my brother-in-law, ended up winning the whole thing.
He did?
It came down to Chris, Isaiah, and Eli. And the way that they won, that they were each the champion of three of the games. And then the final winner was determined with that cookie face thing. So it's like they put a cookie on their forehead and the first person to let it fall down their face and get it in their mouth won the whole thing. And then Locke was filming the whole thing with like his nice camera and he's gonna like put together like a video for us. But
that's great.
I was like, this is an amazing thing that like the purpose of this space to have family come together. And everybody was like, oh, you sure you're going to bring your family and Jesse's family all together for Thanksgiving? I'm like, yeah, this is the vision, man. This is the thing. And it really worked. And then the games were great. Everybody's talking about how great the games are. And then they're like, we got to do it next year. You got to get a trophy. We need to start engraving people's names in it. Like they like are totally bought into it.
They got the vision.
And so
that's great.
It's very fresh, but I was like, this is...
No, that's good. I mean, it's, when you're doing something that becomes a tradition, that's a top one.
Like I was telling you earlier, this was the first time when I go back home to North Carolina, I enjoy being there. I enjoy my family. But every time I'm coming back to California, I'm like, I'm so ready to come back to California. I'm so happy when I get back home. This is the first time, because we've created a space for ourselves there, in which when it was time to go, I was like, I kind of like to stay a little bit longer. So I was like, that's a sign that this was a good idea, that this worked out.
Well,
from yellow jackets and carpenter bees and all the shit that we've dealt with, there are still mice that we're slowly killing. I'm killing so many things just to have a life there.
But yeah, I mean, you thought it would, at one point you thought it would be last year, maybe even the year before that you used the house. So like to finally be able to do it.
It's been a lesson in patience.
For it to come together, and that was a brilliant move to do something. It's like, oh, we're doing this next year. Everybody's looking forward to it. Yeah. I think that's brilliant, and I think you should have gone last because it's better than my number one.
Oh.
So, but I still have to say my number one.
Well, what is it?
Maybe we could change it in the edit. My number one is, you talk about like usually wanting to come back to your home here and like feeling a little bit different. Like I started to feel that way in my summer trip to Oahu, which is my number one. We had planned so far in advance and had so many expectations associated with taking a longer vacation over the summer, and that being something that we can institutionalize year after year. And so you went to Portugal, me choosing to go to Oahu and kind of like pretend to live there makes it awfully tempting to actually want to live there. I mean, it was a very simplified, beautiful existence. Why people want to go and live in Hawaii. It was just, it was very rejuvenating and connecting for us as a family, and for the, people came through at different times, but we had this home base that like, I think that's the reason why it's what you've done is so special, is that you've created a new home, a second home that is your base, that then, having all your family there. I didn't have the benefit of having my whole family there, but like the family that I did have there, it made it very special. I think that there's two key there's two moments for me. One is me and Jasper the dog and Lincoln and Lando took this beautiful hike that I'll never forget. The pillbox hike at can't remember what it's called right now, but my brain's kind of slipping up on me. But it was absolutely beautiful, and I don't know, it just put some images in my mind that like I'll never forget on that particular hike. And then like remember I took all those like wing foil lessons and like beat my body up, and I never really succeeded at doing it. Something about that experience has really stuck with me as being, it was very exhausting and frustrating, and even though I didn't achieve it, I look back on it as a very rewarding experience to try something. And to like test my limits and expand my horizons, and I don't know, just the isolation and the separation from what we do. I mean, it really made it special to come back and to get, and I was very excited to come back, and Wonderhole was a big part of that. But I think it, I keep floundering, keep waffling back and forth on if we want to just go back or if we want to do something different. I think we're going to do something different, but I don't know. Somewhere down the road, I can see myself spending more time in Hawaii. That was my top thing of the year. That was it.
Well,
I'm done. Thank you. Is that how you end a speech?
it's another full year.
Super grateful. Super grateful. Too much stuff to name.
I'm excited about.
Aren't we blessed?
I'm excited about 2025. I think that. I don't know. We were talking a little bit with Stevie about this yesterday. There's something about being in your late 40s. Now, Stevie's not in her late 40s, so that's why we were telling her, just wait until you're in your late 40s. But approaching 50, and you really start to think about, like, okay, I have lived more years now than I'm going to live, like most likely, especially me. I'm tall, and you think about the things that we do and all the, like, we put out so many things. There's so much content that comes out of this company that we've created, and we're responsible for some of it, and our team is responsible for more of it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no we're not going to stop anytime soon. We're not going to stop making stuff.
Nope.
But I think about you start thinking about, like, well, what am I, like, what are the things that I value, and what are the experiences that I value, and how do I, intentionally sort of make decisions so that I can look back on my year and be like, not just did I have a good time, but like, did I have those like life-giving experiences?
Yeah. Did you grow? Did you connect? Did you give?
And I think that, I don't know, every year I'm getting a little bit more intentional about, and some of that, I think some of that actually translates into the decisions that we're making about content. I mean, I think that Wonderhole is an example of that.
Definitely.
Because it's not some like great business strategy. It's very much like, make something from the heart. Make something from the heart if you can. We're privileged enough to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And then see what happens. Live from the heart. Don't be so in the mind. I think this year was a step in the right direction.
I agree. I like to have the ability to make decisions to live out our priorities in the way that we can is a luxury. So super grateful. I thought you were going to say at the end of the Thanksgiving family Olympics that the final thing was going to be, all right, now we're going to shoot a bow and arrow, and it's just going to be your opportunity to like let them have it.
Well, you'll notice that in the story, I was not one of the victors of any of the brackets. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I didn't try. I did try, but I also felt weird about. No. I'm saying I started. I was like, okay, I've kind of like, in order to research these things, I feel like I kind of practiced them. So I'm gonna wait until somebody else, like if it's flip cup, I'll start when somebody ends up flipping a cup. But by the end, I had been beaten so many times that I was like, for the last competition, I was like, I'm not taking any disadvantage, and I still got beat.
Good for you.
Which I think is fitting. I think it's if the organizer of the tournament, like if you went to a fishing tournament,
you can't.
And the organizer of the fishing tournament was like, I caught the biggest bass. So we have to figure out how. We have to just.
You can't win.
We might have to have a committee.
You're just okay.
We might have to have a committee that is deciding on what games will be played. If I can bring some more people into it, then I can participate.
So we encourage you to reflect on your own top moments of the year. Hopefully it's as rewarding for you as it has been for us.
And Jamie, what are we left with this year so we can tell people what to prepare for in terms of when we're back, what's happening over the break, all that stuff?
We just have 1 week break for New Year's week, and then we are back on the 6th of January.
You heard it. All right. Don't forget to call in and let us know what's going on with yourself. 1-888-EARPOD1. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, you might hear yourselves in the background. Anyways, I just wanted to thank you all for being there and, dedicating yourselves to putting out content. Even though it's like, a lot of work for you all, everyone appreciates you. And in a way, thank you for becoming friends with your audience and sharing so much of yourself and connecting with us on a digital level. But yeah, thanks. Bye. Love you.